All right, so the 5 things, I want to give you some personal stuff. 5 things that I did that I wouldn't do again in my journey and recovery. Yeah. First point is for you, Narina. I focused only on my physical well-being. That was my problem. That was a problem. So don't do this, right? I only focused on my physical well-being, and it took me much longer because there was shame in being mentally burnt out, emotionally burnt out. There was no understanding of, what that meant back then, at least in my sphere and my circles. And so I focused on my physical well-being for many, many years, and it just kept me looping. Yeah. I focused only on external environment. So I changed jobs, reduced my hours from 14 hours to 7 hours a day. Thought that would fix it. Changed environment. That didn't work. I blamed myself. There was a lot of shame going on. The fact that I wasn't living up to my own expectations, and I just hid it and I ran away. Yeah. And then I fought myself for so long internally for who I thought I should be and wasn't being. So that's what I did that I would never do again. And I don't want you to do. I want you to find some self-compassion so that you know that if you are heading to burnout, or you've experienced it before, that you start to love yourself in a way that, if you forgive yourself for being angry at yourself, don't forget, you don't need to forgive yourself for burning out, but for not giving to yourself back then, if you have gone through it, yeah? So here's another thing. I spent years analysing my past. Don't do that. When I coach now, we visit the past to help us move forward. It informs us for what's having us be stuck now. But I spent years digging into my past, trying to work out what was wrong, what went wrong, why I am the way that I am, trying to fix myself. Don't do that. Don't do that. Keep you stuck. And I went against my intuition. Okay. My naturopath, one of the therapists I saw, naturopath said to me, you need to go home. You've got adrenal depletion. You need to go off all of these foods. You need to go home to your mother and father. This was when I was 30 something. You need to go home to your mother and father, and you need them to let them look after you. That was the last thing that I needed, but I did it because part of my journey and reason for burnout and self-criticism was because of my mum and dad. I love them. They're brilliant people. And, I had the daughter-daddy thing, trying to prove myself, trying to be the best, all of that going on. And so going home to be looked after by my mum and dad, who I hadn't resolved within myself, my healthy relationships with them, was the last thing I needed to do. So I didn't trust my intuition, and I just did that because I just needed relief from the exhaustion. So I thought, okay, if that's what I need to do, that's what I'll do. But I didn't trust my intuition. Okay. So those are the 5 things that I did that I don't recommend. 5 things I didn't do then that I would do now. Which means 5 things I would recommend you do. And then I'm going to give you a quick model and then we're done. All right. So stay with me. So 5 things that I didn't do that I want you to do or recommend. Care more about how you feel. I'm going to put how I. Care more about how I, so I being you, than what others think. Number 1. Right? Care more about what I think and how I feel and feeling good than what anyone else thinks. That is tough. And it means we have to upset and disappoint a lot of people, even those that we care mostly about and we're trying to prove ourselves to the most. That's a tough one, but that's number 1, right? Meditate every day. No exceptions. That's a tough one too, because back then, no chance. My mind wouldn't sit still long enough. Now, when I say meditate, if I knew then what I know now, hindsight is great, isn't it? I would do this. I would make myself do this and learn and educate myself around that. This is something that's thrown around now all over the place. You see all the people that you follow on Insta and all your influencers and so on say this stuff. Not many people are doing it in the way that actually fills the cup, right? So do that. Meditate every day. It's not, you can find so many apps around that. I do Dr. Joe Dispenza's work, but you can find the Calm app, Smiling Mind, Breathe app. There's so many places available for you. You can online meditation classes, something that I'm going to be doing in the future. I haven't got to that yet. Prioritize joy, not work. Prioritize fun and joy and connection and love. Have that be what fills you, and then work after that. Yep, true. Absolutely true. And build self-trust. Learn how to build self-trust. So this is, how do I create safety within me? So we're all looking for spaces where we feel safe, out, working environment, home environment, that's all important. But we need to build that safety within us so that we can trust ourselves. That is key, yeah? And then the last one, I would push my body less and educate myself on what my experience was. So educate myself on the power of the mind and the importance and the superpower of our emotions. As women, we have amazing tools available to us in our emotions, but most of us have learned to disconnect from them and make them wrong. And often we're told we're too emotional or too much, especially if we work in male-dominated fields. And it's not an us and them against men. I love men. But the reality is that we often find that we're suppressing ourselves because we don't want to be seen as someone who's kind of overbearing. So we don't learn how to integrate our emotions in healthy ways and use them to develop our emotional intelligence, and then be able to lead and manage ourselves well and others. Yeah. This is where we have an edge. The new way of leadership is from a place of emotional intelligence and influence, inviting people into a conversation. So you look at some key thought leaders, they're talking about influence as opposed, and the new way of leadership being around engagement as opposed to motivation. All right. So those are 5 things I'd say to you, get interested in and do them. All right. Choose one. Take a moment to choose 1 or 2, and then I'm going to give you a final model.